Hello, and welcome to the Strategic Alignment Podcast. This program is all about providing leaders and managers with meaningful insights on how to optimize business results by aligning their people strategy to their business strategy. Our goal is to support you as you rise to the challenges of complex decision-making centered around attracting and retaining top talent.
Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing? Welcome to another Strategic Alignment Podcast. I'm so excited to be here with you guys on another Thursday where we talk leadership, we talk growth, we talk development. I'm so excited to have with us none other than Dr. Janice Brooks and that building people, changing lives. And I'm so happy to have you with us. Dr. Janice, how are you doing today?
I am actually doing wonderful, and thank you so much for having me here on your program.
Wow. It's always great to have great people who are always ready and willing to share nuggets that could take us to the next level in our leadership and helping our team to secure the kind of results that we need. But Dr. Brooks, before we get any further in questioning and everything, I'd just like to ask you this, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do on the persons who you serve and stuff like that?
I like to describe myself as a people builder, one who works tirelessly and I would say almost endlessly to ensure that I build people and help them to change their lives. So, John Maxwell talk about a person of value adding value to others. And we know that's who we are. That's who I position myself to be, a person of value adding value to others, because it's important that every day in our lives, when we wake each morning, we should say to ourselves, what can I do to add value to someone else today? And so as that person, I walk with the values of honesty, integrity, and trust. I work as a faith-based life strategist, a temperament and pastoral counselor, as well as part of the John Maxwell team of speakers, coaches, and trainers. So in a nutshell, that's what I do. Every day I get up, I find a way to ensure that I help to change someone's life and to make them better.
Wow. You hear that, it's not quite often that you hear people who commit their entire lives to adding value to people. And I know I didn't make mention of it earlier, but Dr. Brooks is a John Maxwell certified speaker coach, and she's also an author. We'll ask a few questions about that later on. But she's one who's doing some great work in the community, working with people, working with leaders, and especially faith-based organization. So Dr. Brooks, today we're talking about leadership strategies that lead towards success and lead towards winning. How should leaders go about measuring their levels of success? How should they go about doing that? Is there a metric? Is there a way of doing that, measuring the levels of success that leaders experience? How do you know if you're growing or if you're building? How do you measure success as a leader?
Just as you mentioned the word metric, it springs something in my mind because I worked in banking for 28 years, many levels, ending in the position of assistant vice president. And metrics was like our life. So everything was a measure. And so success is the same thing. Success must be measured. However, that measure must be by each person's standards. What is your standard of success? What is the other person's standard of success? Because success can be relative depending on who you're dealing with. But there are some generic measurements that leaders can actually use to say, yes, I'm holding on to this measure of success. And some of them that I just think of offhand is learning and knowledge. Always increase their learning and knowledge is a way to define how successful they are. And then again, the general satisfaction that they get from doing what they do, that is tantamount, and that is also critical. They must also be able to see the level of satisfaction from the persons who they serve, and not just satisfaction, level of growth. Are these persons growing that I'm serving? So how do I measure success on my side? I also think of some persons like to leave this behind, but profitability is also a measure of success. How profitable are you in your area, in the space that you serve? And finally, just to narrow them down, how do you spend your time? That's also a critical measure of success. Are you spending your time peeping over other person's shoulder? Or are you using your time investing in people so that they can become leaders as well, so that you can be able to lead in the way that you want to lead? And so those are some of the measures of success as I see them.
Wow. So, I think one of the things that is that really captured my attention while you were talking about the different ways that you can measure the level of success that you experience is the fact that you should measure the level of success based on the goals that you have and based on the skills that you have, based on the environment that you're in, and based on what are the expectations that you place on yourselves or others are placing on you. Because what happens sometimes we measure our levels of success based on what others are doing, what our competitors are doing. And sometimes that could lead us to a fixed position whereby we may think that we're doing well, but we're only doing as well as those who we consider to be our competitors. And you talk about your banking career, spending time there, and having, in terms of how much returns are you getting in terms of what you're doing, and why some things you could add a number to it sometimes is based on the impact that you're having on those who you're working with. And a number of leaders struggle with that, because you have leaders sometimes who they may be doing a great job based on their numbers, but they're losing valuable employees because they're not successful in terms of how they're investing in their people, which is their primary capital in the organization. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, in terms of, because you made mention about adding value to people as one of the biggest part of measuring your success. So I don't know, Dr. Brooks, if you just want to jump into
Yeah,
that part for me.
absolutely, absolutely. Because you just touched on a very important point. And I'm just going to use a personal example. When my last banking job, where I said I was assistant vice president, I had 43 persons reporting, but these were not all direct reports, because in this group you had managers, you had assistant managers, you had department heads. And so the onus was on me, the leader, to ensure that I invest in each of these department heads, these managers, these supervisors, to ensure that they can lead. And when I'm not in the branch one day, the branch run seamlessly, because I have trained these leaders, or to ensure that they're trained so that they can manage. And that is one of the biggest thing for leaders today. They must be able to train others to carry on and to ensure that the work goes on, even if they are not there. Someone said, the profitability of a business when you walk in and you cannot determine who the leader is, because everyone is actually leading, doing the work of a leader.
Wow. So, and one of the things that we say here all the time at Pottingers and Associates is that leadership is leading up, leading down, leading across, and most importantly, leading yourself. And creating a pipeline of leaders is one of the greatest measures of whether or not you're doing a great job as a leader, whereby you don't have to be depending only on your skill set for your organization or for your team to be doing well, but you understand that together each achieve more. So you're spending the time to invest in the capacity of those who you have to lead. That's powerful. So my next question, Dr. Brooks, is what are some of the strategies that leaders, because you have a number of leaders, emerging leaders, established leaders, they're still struggling to find that winning space. They're still struggling to find that sweet spot in terms of securing results, impacting their team, securing the recognition based on the skills that they have, their abilities and their talents. What are some of the strategies that you would recommend or that you'd like to share with those leaders so that they can use these in plotting their path forward?
Thank you for that question, because I usually say that a life without strategy is a life going nowhere. A life without strategy is a life going nowhere, because a strategy is really a plan or some major action steps that is designed to take you to your goal or to your aim. So if you don't have any strategies, any plan, then it means that you are going nowhere. And these are my personal 5 strategies that I use in my own business. that I teach in my own business. And the first one is to cultivate a steadfast belief. That's what I believe is the first strategy to get you where you want to get to. Because if you don't believe, then you haven't even started the journey. When you believe, you're 50% there, and the other 50% is made up with all the other things that you can do. And my second strategy here is to reprogram your thoughts and your habits. This is so very important because the strategy, the thoughts and the habits that take you to one level, those cannot take you to the next level. You have to have a next level plan, a next level strategy, a next level thoughts, next level habits to take you to the next level. And the third one that I think is to develop your knowledge. Leaders must always be lifelong learners. They must be always hungry for knowledge. If you're not hungry for knowledge, then it means that you're not a great leader, because it means that learning stops for you. And the fourth one I think of is to apply focus and consistency with everything that you do. Consistency and focus is what holds many leaders back. They start out and they're running the race, and somewhere in the middle, they just make a pause and they go nowhere after that. That thing that is called focus and the other thing that is called consistency are two major strategies that you must apply every day that you wake up as a leader. And the last one that I usually teach and say, once you apply all of those, just do this last one: soar and sustain. Soar and sustain like the eagle. That's actually a critical strategy. Some persons soar, but they can't sustain, and so they come right back down. Add both of them together: soar and sustain. You have those simple 5 strategies, and you're all set.
Well, 5 powerful strategies. You got to cultivate a steadfast belief. So there must be something that you believe in. And, you're so right about that, because sometimes you see leaders or companies, organizations, they waver because they don't have a sense of belief. There's nothing that keeps them grounded. And every new thing that happens, they're shifting, and then they end up not being known for anything, and they end up failing. And you talk about reprogramming your thoughts, and that's something that most times we find difficult to do, because we so enjoy our comfort zone. We don't like moving. As leaders, we enjoy the old wins, and we like to talk about where we're coming from. But as you make mention about reprogramming your thoughts, because once you learn something new, you have to move away from where you are and keep on advancing, so that you can remain relevant, productive, and meaningful for those who you're looking to serve. Because as you said earlier, we're all about serving people and adding value, and then developing your knowledge. Where there's no knowledge, people perish. So we should always seek to get new information. And then you say consistency. We have to stick with it and develop that skill. And then finally, you talk about soaring. And the reason why I enjoy that one, the soaring piece, is that I've always compared the eagles with the pigeons, because the pigeons can't hang out with the eagles. So as leaders, soaring, meaning that you're always moving from your comfort zone, and you're always looking to expand and getting into new territory, and be more rounded, and having the information, the knowledge allow that to happen. But Dr. Brooks, I'd like to put another question to you in that regard. What happens to leaders who fail to implement these strategies when it comes on to how they lead themselves, their organization? What happens to leaders who fail to implement these strategies or these steps?
And that there's just a simple answer for that. Because when I started to talk about strategies, I said that a strategy is actually a plan of action to achieve a goal or aim. And we all know this little quote so well. You either plan to fail or you fail to plan. It means that if there is no strategy, if there is no plan, then that leader is setting themselves up for failure. There's no 2 ways about it.
Wow. So we have a strategy allows you to have a path, and a path is almost like allows you to move that vehicle, that dream, to where it needs to be in terms of winning with yourself and with your team. And that's powerful. Dr. Brooks, it's a pleasure having you here on the Strategic Alignment podcast. But before you go, I'd like for you to tell us a little bit about. I know that you have a book out there on Amazon. I'd like for you to share with us exactly where they could, the name of the book, a little bit about it, and some of the services that you offer, and where people can find you so that they can connect with you and secure some of these nuggets and help their organizations to secure the wins that they're looking forward to gaining.
Thank you so much. So I actually am the author of 2 books. The first one is called Anchored by Purpose. And in that book, I kind of chronicle some parts of my life growing up from that little girl in the countryside, going through tremendous challenges, not having any sense of purpose, almost hopeless, to rise into the levels that I have risen to, all because of sheer determination, resilience, just holding on to that hope and that faith that I can go through the help of God. And that is basically my life in that book, a part of my life, I would say a little 10% of my life chronicled in that book, Anchored by Purpose. I love to write. So if you pass through my home, everything is written down. Someplace you're going to find something written down. If it's a thought, if it's something, sometimes they're all sticked on the wall. So my second book is called Moments in Time. And it's just writing little stories that I remember about moments in time, because moments in times are so special. Just remembering some moments in time bring you back to those special times, and that's the second book that I wrote. I just wrote down those stories, inspirational stories of moments in time.
And Dr. Brooks, how can they find you if people need your services, if they need you to speak, because you are a known itinerant speaker, trainer, and coach? How can they find you to secure those services?
Thank you so much. So my major media is in terms of connection is my website, which is drjanicebrookes.com. drjanicebrookes.com is my website. And I am on all of the major social medias as well, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, under the same handle, which is Dr. Janice Brooks. So I'm easy to find. Once you type that name in, you will find Dr. Janice Brooks right there. And so yes, as you said, I am open for like speaking engagements. I help church groups. I help all kind of groups, because I do specialize in temperament. I didn't know if I mentioned that. I probably didn't remember to mention it, but I specialize in temperament because I believe it was John Maxwell that said, in order to grow yourself, you must know yourself. And so temperament is really knowing who you are, that inborn part of a person that helps them to become more. And so I specialize in temperament, where I give you that assessment. It's like a personality test, but it's a little different, where you recognize who you are. And so I'm able to coach you to manage that personality so that you can live better lives. And I believe everybody, whether you're in a school group, church group, in the workplace, whether getting married, dating, whatever, wherever you are, you need to be able to look at temperament as a base to build your relationship on, whether it's personal relationships or social relationships. It makes a huge difference. And so that's what I specialize in addition to my counseling, because I do faith-based counseling as well, because I'm a pastoral counselor. I teach at my church as well. So those are some of the things I do.
Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Brooks, for joining us today on another Strategic Alignment podcast, where we believe that, we're all leaders, whether leading up, down, across, or leading yourself. And, you've made an indelible mark on our minds today. Cultivate a steadfast belief system, reprogram your thoughts as you move forward, develop the knowledge that you need, and focus on everything that you're working with. Be consistent, and then soar once you're in that place. Those strategies, I'll definitely take those with me and use them in my organization, my team, and I'll share whoever's listening to this podcast also. Please use them, because as Dr. Brooks made mention, that strategy gives you a path towards achieving your goals. So without strategies, you'll find it hard to win or even measure your levels of success. Dr. Brooks, thank you again for joining us. And for all those who are watching, thank you for joining us for another Strategic Alignment podcast. Please remember, if you haven't gotten a copy of your book yet, Dr. Janice Brooks just shared the name of her book, Anchored by Purpose, and also Moments in Time. Am I getting it right, Dr. Brooks?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Please grab yourself copies of those books from Amazon. And if you haven't gotten a copy of our book also, The Face of Leadership, grab yourself a copy of The Face of Leadership on Amazon and Kindle. And please, you'll enjoy the read, and leave a note or two with us when you would have picked up our books. Thank you guys again for joining us, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Strategic Alignment Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to our podcast by visiting our website at www.pottingerandassociatesconsulting.com.